This is Youth and Adults Transforming Schools Together team, and pretty exciting statewide initiative that I think you'll be happy to hear about. Entering its 5th year, encompasses 12 high schools and growing in Vermont. Join me in welcoming these guys from Youth and Adults Transforming Schools.
Welcome everyone. The Youth and Adults Transforming Schools Together organization was thrilled to be asked to lead this keynote session today. The goal of our organization is to foster schools where learning is engaging and youth are empowered. And my name is Taylor Ducharme from AZU.
And I'm Yuka Oiwa, a recent graduate of Harvard Uni.
And I'm Helen Beatty, the director of YAST.
And so this year's theme for YAST is entitled Great Expectations or Not. And so we're going to start by offering you a great introductory video that encompasses really the main theme for today.
Dismissed from drama school with a note that read, "Wasting her time. She's too shy to put her best foot forward." Turned down by the Decca recording company who said, "We don't like their sound and guitar music is on the way out." A failed soldier, farmer, and real estate agent. At 38 years old, he went to work for his father as a handyman. Cut from the high school basketball team, he went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. A teacher told him he was too stupid to learn anything, and he should go into a field where he might succeed by virtue of his pleasant personality. Fired from a newspaper because he lacked imagination and had no original ideas. His fiancée died, he failed in business twice, he had a nervous breakdown, and he was defeated in 8 elections. If you've never failed, you've never lived.
We are all vulnerable to the doubts that we have about ourselves, about our abilities, about our value at different points in our life. I can imagine those among us who haven't felt that feeling of those doubts creeping in that become bigger as we become smaller and smaller in those moments and actually end up often sabotaging ourselves and shutting down our learning and our ability to be all that we can be. And conversely, I would suggest that most likely all of us have felt that wonderful surge of energy that happens when we believe in ourselves. We are confident that we have the capacity to achieve. And often we're surrounded by others who are also giving us that message. And in those moments, from that place, we become capable of reaching to the outer edges of our comfort zone, to accomplishing great things because of that grounding of our belief in ourselves and high expectations. The people in this video were able to surmount that negative message that they got. They were resilient. But we all know children who are not able to push away those messages of repeated failure or those messages of doubt that sometimes are very explicit and intentional and sometimes are very implicit and unintentional. And our work today is about doing something about expectations. There's so many things in life we cannot influence, but the great news today is that there are many definitive things we can do. There are tools today that we're going to review with you. You will experience with the hope that you bring them home and share them with others. That will absolutely raise expectations within your schools and communities. It's something we can do something about, and that's our greatest hope. Today you leave with those tools and that desire.
And we have 2 goals for this session. One is you will be as committed to raising student expectations in your classrooms and schools as we are. And will feel empowered with strategies and tools to accomplish these goals.
And you will also ponder how to make it safe for students to take risks and make mistakes and learn.
There are 2 pieces that we need to be managing simultaneously. If we're going to raise expectations, we also must raise the ability, the comfort of students to make mistakes and fail in the learning process. If we just raise expectations, but we don't make it safer for them to make mistakes in the messiness of learning, we will have set them up for failure. And conversely, if we make more space for mistakes and the messiness, but we don't raise expectations, there will be that unmet potential that none of us want for the children that we work with. So that's the simultaneous part is a critical part of our message today.
And this work is supported by a lot of research. Dr. John Hattie, a New Zealand researcher, synthesized over 50,000 studies that looked at the most influential factors impacting learning. He found that out of the 138 factors identified, the most powerful predictor of a student's academic performance was their prediction of their grades. Research has also confirmed how powerful teacher expectations are in shaping student learning. If we raise student expectations, we will positively impact student outcomes.
The power of expectations is also something that we've all experienced, and we all know firsthand how much it matters. So we invite you in a few moments of silence to think of one time in your life where teachers, either high or low expectations for you, influenced the outcome of that learning experience. So 30 seconds of silence and breathe.
All right, if you could please find a partner to share that story with. For 1 minute each, you will share with that person, the teacher who influenced you one way or the other. We're going to do a number of pair shares, and we're going to signal the time to shift, the 1 minute interval, by this very high tech. There you go. All right, find your partner and begin, please.
This is Lucity in grade 3, and she brought a whole bunch of kids in her car to the Magic Pan for crepes for breakfast. But she taught us how to, I guess by that, she taught us how to reach out to kids and how to connect and engage with them. And I've never forgotten that, because how crazy, you would never think of doing anything like that in this time, right? Taking kids in your own personal car. And she would bring in the TV for the electric company. I remember that. And so things that you don't see, but ways to connect kids to get them engaged and motivated. So third grade, and I've never forgotten it.
So I didn't have many influential teachers with my parents, because all going through high school was just the expectation, like you go to college, it's just what you do. And I followed that path, and my dad and his family hadn't had that experience, and he was like shocked when I went to college in 4 years and did it. I was the first one to get a bachelor's on his side of the family. But my mom, the whole side of the family, everybody just, that's what you do, and it was just an expectation of what you're supposed to do after high school. So, but yeah, I also didn't have any influential teachers. It is really interesting. I did have one teacher in 4th grade that put me in the really high reading group, and I hated her for it, because she knew I could do it, but I didn't want to, and it didn't make me work any harder. It just made me, if anything, work less. I just wanted to annoy her.
Through all of the stories and the experiences that you have lived and the compelling research, you know the importance that high self-expectations have on people and students. And you know that it's worth fostering those beliefs and putting in energy in order to maintain those.
This spring, several YAT schools have been researching the influence of expectations by conducting videotaped interviews of students, teachers, and parents. So we're going to show you a few short clips which highlight the influence of expectations in the participants' lives. So we're hoping this will spark your own thoughts and experiences, because immediately after we show you these clips, you're going to turn to a partner near you and explore ways you've already successfully built expectations within your own classrooms.
Do you have notes? I just want to see
I can tell when a teacher is there to support me, when they're always asking me questions and always just acting like they truly care.
My teachers do have fairly high expectations, so if I really messed up, they're often surprised. They talk to me about it and stuff. They don't want me just to get by.
I like when they like give you like feedback that's like that's not like, I hate the feedback that's like super nice, and I like when they like tell you like straight up like, okay, work on this, improve this. Like whenever anyone tries to make like you better, like improve like anything that's going on. Like I don't really like sometimes like I appreciate getting hundreds and stuff like that, but I like to know how I can do better, and I think that's just because of my competitive side that I want to know how I can improve. You know what I mean?
When they seem genuinely interested in what I have to say, or asking questions after class, did you understand this, or how did you feel about this? And also when they're honest with grades and stuff, they tell me what I need to work on. In English class last year, we wrote an essay. We wrote several essays, and the first time we got the essay back, I had like a D or a C, and comments written all over it. And essays are usually the things that I'm better at. So, but the comments were really great, and I learned a ton. And next time I got a C or D, I'd get really excited because I knew I was going to learn a lot from, my teacher was being honest with my work and really wanted me to learn something from it.
I'll say that if I'm like an overachiever, I don't think I've always been that way. I think probably in like 7th or 8th grade, there was one teacher that made me like really start to realize that I had like a lot more potential than I thought I did. And so that made me want to try even harder and stuff.
So like when we talk about student engagement and putting students more involved in their own learning, it's not a plug and play kind of situation. Like there's mentorship and there's a lot of thought that has to go into structuring that environment so that it's safe and productive.
Last year in algebra, we did like students had to teach their own lesson to the class, and even if you felt like, I don't know, it like makes you kind of like come out of your comfort zone, and like you have to make the initiative to like teach something and act like you're 100% confident on it, even if you're not really, or like.
It's experience. I think part of it's just getting a sense of finding that sweet spot between teacher expectation and meaning for students, and what does community mean to them. How do they define their own expectations?
Do you have notes? I just want to see what.
Okay, so we'll give you a total of 2 minutes to talk with your state partner about what you believe are the most powerful ways to build high expectations. So what strategies do you currently weave into your practice to reinforce expectations? So we're going to give you 30 seconds of silence, and it's the same ground rules with active listening.
I think sort of similar to what our speaker yesterday was saying, that when you have that confidence in your student, that I think that they rise to that challenge and they rise to the quality of work that you expect from them, and they go that extra mile.
I totally agree, and partly giving them choices on what they can do. If they are given the chance to have a choice in what the final product, then they're obviously going to succeed more, because they're a little more invested in what they do if they're given a choice in the subject or the product.
And sort of similar to what even that little video clip was showing, that as a teacher, when you continue to push them, so a final doesn't have to be a final. You can do even better than that. If there's a bunch of things that you can still go back and improve upon, you can do it, and just to continue to push those students push those students along and say, this is wonderful, but I know that you can do even more. And to say, I know, and I have that confidence in you, and if you have that confidence in them, I think that they'll
it's moving and encouraging, and staying away from the negative comments on the paper, like that one boy said in the clip, that the red stuff all over the paper is intimidating.
But to set those higher expectations, you have to be willing to be there and help buoy them up too. Like, you can't set them up for something that's beyond them. You can have high expectations, but you also have to be reasonable. Exactly. As well. So like a third grader isn't going to write a 10-page research paper necessarily. Yep. Someday.
Our last set of clips and discussion focuses on those factors that present a challenge to sustain or building high expectations. If we can know and name these, we can change and transform them.
Do you have notes? I just want to see what
I think sometimes grades can undercut kids, and you don't even have to have the altercation. It can just be dropping that essay on a kid's desk. I think even recently, thinking back, knowing that a student was trying very hard on an essay and that they'd spent more time probably than the average student had on that essay, yet it still didn't make the rubric grade. It didn't fit into that box that grades kind of provide for us. I think the essay grade really undercut that kid's effort, and that's very hard because there's a numeric grade on things, and really I should be grading that individual's growth and progress. And I think that student's efforts probably were negated by the fact that the grade wasn't passing after all of that.
Certain grouping of kids based on perceived ability by teachers. That's what I would say. You know, that it's perceived that they're not doing well, or that they don't have the potential. But the automatic issue is that with that is as soon as you treat a student that way, it's perceived that you don't think they can do it.
Exactly.
Right? That they've already lost. That they're not valued in the system automatically. And so it's just the beginning of complete failure at reaching a kid like that.
I feel like it's different for different classes, and even for different teachers, because there are some teachers who I feel like have no idea what is going on with me in regards to their class. I feel like they don't particularly care. And then there are other teachers who are really vocal about figuring out where people are, how comfortable they are with class, things that they have issues with. It really depends on the teachers, and I have a fairly even mix this year of teachers who I feel maybe aren't so invested, and then teachers who really do care.
I always try to start with them, and what the motivation, what's the function behind the motivation, or the lack of, is, is there something else upsetting them? Is something else just, maybe sometimes it's just a thought in your head that you get stuck on, and we've always tried to help them to help themselves, whether it's homework, schoolwork, they have to find the way. I'm terrible at math, so to help them at math, I'm like, okay, what are your options? Can you look this up online? Can you go to the teacher earlier or later? Can you find a peer mentor who can help you? Because
you have notes? I just want to see what.
So over the next minute, if you could discuss with the same partner what factors are impediments or challenges to sustaining or building high expectations within your classroom or school.
Want to go first? Well, I think that certainly one of the challenges is the size, just the sheer amount of kids and staff that we're working with. From my perspective, it's how do I get to each one of you and help you to do that. So that's definitely one of them.
I think a lot of it is also perception on the staff of having that thought that they should know this and not thinking to give students the tools sometimes to do it. I mean, I'm blessed in that I work in kindergarten where you just get that, and that's part of the job is you teach the kids how to do it, but sometimes when you get older you expect kids to still know these rules and they forget or they haven't really learned them yet.
Yeah, I mean, we all say, right, we have high expectations. You expect every child can learn, and it sometimes just feels like words that we throw around. But when I encounter those teachers who really, truly believe that and live it out, that's, for me, it's almost like seeing the contrast. It's like, wow, they really, really believe it, and they do these little things to make sure that nobody is everybody's failing, but it takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of support. So in a place as big as ours, how do we make sure that everybody's got the support they need to make that happen?
That's tough.
But you're right, in kindergarten, like it's ground floor.
It's just how it is, and you know that the kids come in and they don't know how to sit in a circle and how to raise their hand, and I think sometimes that point of view gets forgotten. Sometimes at school is so different from home, especially in like our community, where school is very different from home, and the rules or expectations at school aren't followed through at home, so it's two completely different environments. I think it's hard for the kids sometimes to remember how to act.
Yeah, and what you said is that you have to remember that you have to teach those things.
Okay. So in order for schools to be places where high expectations are the norm, where they're maintained, we are strong advocates for learning being the constant and time being the variable. That slow learners are not penalized. People who just get there a little bit later are not penalized for that fact. You are under enormous pressures for time. This is not an easy task to live into this, but when I saw this picture of this beautiful girl in this moment of learning that we all strive for, it just said to me, we need to figure this one out. We need to be able to make it safe, to give kids the time to learn in the way that we know and we most want them to be able to learn. That's our job, that's our challenge.
And we're also advocates for schools where mistakes and failures are treated as a natural and essential part of the learning process.
And also, schools where students are provided opportunities to rewrite and redo their work until they reach a desired level of mastery. Many experts like John Hattie and Linda Darling-Hammond suggest that this is a defining difference between lower and higher performing schools. If you get a D on a test, you are not done. And it redefines what learning is.
So we're going to introduce you to a tool, the Mindset Choices, that is one vehicle that today we're going to explore, introducing a shift in a sense of capacity, one which was written to also be shared with students. So you do have this in your packet on the second page, the packet that starts with the beautiful E.E. Cummings quote. If you want to locate that, you turn to the second page. You will find the Mindset Choices. So mindset, some of you may well have heard about Carol Dweck's work and explored the concept of the shift between fixed and growth mindset. So in short, a fixed mindset is one which is predicated on a belief that we are all born with a given amount of intelligence. We either have a great deal or perhaps not so much, and the not so much is usually mitigated by factors that come from stereotypes around socioeconomic status or gender or race and we know that as erroneous as that is, the fact is that many of us have been brought up to believe that. Growth mindset, which is grounded on compelling brain research now, posits that our brain is like a muscle. Our brain, the more we use it, the more it grows. There is not a ceiling. We can never assume a ceiling on capacity. We just need to keep growing it to really find the true potential in each one of us and each one of the children we work with. So that's the fundamental of mindset. And Carol Dweck's research is very compelling that if we can move children from that place of a fixed mindset where they are self-imposing limits to one of a growth mindset, we can have significant impact on not only their well-being, but also their academic performance. So we're going to let you hear what mindset sounds like in the voice of students with first the growth mindset.
So taking that challenging course was amazing, but getting in the end, that was exhilarating. I thought it was great, but for me, it was really about overcoming that challenge.
Fixed mindset.
You know, I thought about taking that tough course, but I'm not sure I'm smart enough, and there is no way I'm going to fail or have people see me struggle. No way. Not gonna happen.
When I failed, I was pretty upset, but my teacher encouraged me to do a redo and gave me plenty of feedback. Their faith in me really got me to try again and succeed.
When I got that D, I was so upset I couldn't even look at the feedback. I was just ready to move on.
So you can, Taylor, can you move in and share with folks those things that are most powerful for you? All of us have moments of being in the fixed place. We're never in one, only one. So during those moments, what helps you shift? What would you say?
Well, show me you believe in me.
Give me feedback so I can get better.
And let me redo the work until I get it.
Get to know what I'm good at so I can build on my strengths.
And give me a safe space to make mistakes.
So we're going to ask you to take the next 2 minutes to be able to share with the individual next to you. What do you do when you are with students of your age group? What is it that you can do to help move them from that fixed place to that growth mindset? So 2 minutes, what actual strategies work for you? And then we'll come back with the class. Go for it.
This is compelling research. I mean, really good stuff. Well constructed, peer reviewed, excellent. It really is something that is not. I'm glad to see it out here in the conference because it's so powerful. And it's about the language that we use when we're talking to kids about their work, rather than giving them a definitive label. We're saying, "Oh, good job. Oh, you're so smart, Gary." Okay, when I give you that label, smart, if you like me, that becomes an important label to you, and then you got to defend that label. Right. Okay. So, and it creates black and white thinking. You know, if you're not smart, what are you?
What's the opposite?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so if you take that test and you don't do well with a fixed mindset, you're done. Okay, and that kills your motivation to try further. If I say something to you like, Gary, I noticed you got a 90 on the spelling test this week. Last week you got a 50. What's the difference? What did you do differently this week? And you say something like, I studied. And I'll say, you think studying makes a difference?
Follow it up.
Follow it up.
Be
Yeah.
innovative, creative.
What have you learned from this?
Right,
You know, leading kids to understand that it's the effort and motivation that makes the difference, and that they're not going to be condemned for one bad grade.
Those positive statements, and they can be few and far between, but as long as they're timely, make all the difference.
And not labeling, not that stuff about you're so smart, and even behavior. You know, oh, you're a good kid. You know, okay, so if you're not a good kid, what are you? Yeah, you know. So and when kids, remember we were talking yesterday about premature cognitive commitments.
Right.
That's a lot of what this mindset stuff is about. It's about
the phrase I had for the day.
Right. Right. These ideas get in. And unless we take them out and examine them, help the kids take them out and examine them, then the brain is a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. I mean, that's a great concept for kids. They don't necessarily understand it. So we got to teach it to them and then show them how it works. It's your effort and trying and retrying that makes it better. If you can, when we're talking about the thread that you catch kids on, trying to find it in their life that even skateboarding, whatever it is, did you get that jump the first time? That kind of stuff.
Working
Great
with
stuff.
students around the mindset framework, giving them the language and a way for them to conceptualize what their work is and how we can help them move from that place of fixedness to one of true belief and honoring of the real capacity that they have that should not be limited by erroneous perceptions of some ceiling that they've already met. Some of you have had the pleasure of seeing Chris Jernstead and Bill Rich. There's been, I think, a lot of professional development around the brain research and helping teachers align their practices to be consistent with what we know are best brain-driven learning practices. We would suggest it's time that we bring that information to students so students can align their learning practices in the same way teachers are aligning their teaching practices to the brain, because that is empowering information for them. So we have some resources for you to do exactly that. For the little guys, for kindergarten through second, or third grade, we have 3 book recommendations, and these are all in the 3rd page of your packet. All of these references are there for you.
Okay. And so one of them is Your Fantastic Elastic Brain, Breakfast and Shake It. So this is written by a preventative psychologist, and it highlights that we're all neurosoldiers, and that we can change our brains. Also, that we have to make mistakes to learn. And my favorite quote was, "The harder you try without giving up, the more you will learn."
The next book is A Walk in the Rain with a Brain, and this was actually written by a psychiatrist, and in the back are all sorts of strategies to lead dialogue afterwards and deepen the learning with children. The part I like best about it is where the story about how the word smart was created. One brain was said to have felt like he just needed to feel a little more self-important than the others, and it was on that day that he decided there was a word called smart. And at the end, as you might guess, the resolution, dispelling the myth of smart was part of the storyline in this story. But powerful story and great strategies at the end for you to bring it to the K to 2 or 3. We don't have anything for the 4th and 5th graders, but they would be awesome reading buddies for your kindergartners and 1st graders and learn that same information through that process.
The last book really related to me, and The Girl Who Never Made Mistakes. As perfectionists out there, you know the problem.
For middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, there is a program called Brainology. And I encourage you to look it up on the web. Again, it's based on Carol Dweck's work. It's in about 400 schools nationally, and the research about its impact is pretty compelling. It's like a video game. So they actually tried to walk the talk and make it as engaging as they could, the practices they were trying to also give to the students as the tools that they were trying to give. So it's a great way for them to understand the brain and have tips about how to be an effective learner. On the last page of your handout is Brain Smart Learning Tips. That was partly taken and inspired by the Brainology program. So that is a tool. Again, all of the YATS materials are downloadable for free, and both the Brainology, the Brain Smart Learning Tips, and the Mindsets are available to you. So Brainology, worth pursuing and looking at, significant impact.
Another of our resources is the Speak Out for Understanding group. It was created 3 years ago by a speech therapist at Harvard Union. There you go. The group really dovetails well with our message because its purpose is to dispel any low expectations for people with disabilities. Speak Out is available to come to different schools and really start discussions about understanding everybody's potential.
And then there's the Youth and Adults Transforming Schools Together, or that acronym YATS. There is a module, a curriculum module, again referenced how you find it in your materials. But it's all around strategies and to explore the theme of great expectations. And all of those materials, again, are accessible to you. I would reference, there's a great article in there called I Got Grouped, and this is a tool that actually would work well in faculty development. It's the story of a teacher who spent all summer, she was maybe in her 40s or 50s, and she spent all summer trying to get tech savvy, and she went to the in-service, and at that in-service, people were grouped by assumed capacity, and it was about technology, and she was in the lowest group. And she experienced a day of being tracked with an assumption of her low tech skills. And she recounts sort of what that revealed to her about the dilemmas of her practice, the dilemmas we all have about meeting individual needs without tracking. So it's just a provocative article, so there's some professional development pieces in there, but a lot of tools as well that you can bring to students. And I am updating it, so in about 2 weeks, you'll have even more in that module.
A new YATS tool that really raises dialogue to help build expectations in our schools. At a recent statewide conference, students shared ways that they could build their own expectations, and for others who care about them, teachers, parents, and community members who could also bolster their high expectations. It's a piece from their ideas, and this piece really evolved from that conference, the feedback from that. So this is going to be the multicolored sheet. We're going to give you a few minutes to just kind of look it over. There's all these different notes to the students themselves, from the students to their peers, to their teachers in the center, their parents, and their community members, because it really takes a community to create high expectations. So we'll give you a minute to look that over and read and familiarize yourself.
So if I could direct your attention to the notes to my teacher. As Yuka pointed out, these are notes formulated by students toward teachers of what they need, similarly to what we asked you before. And if you could take 2 minutes to find one on the list that reflects the strength of yours in the classroom, and also one that you'd like to focus on next to you.
We're saving you the glass this time. If you could please attach to that sheet was a blue sheet, which is really the end of session evaluation and feedback. At the very bottom, you will see, you can see it in the PowerPoint, at the very bottom there's a question that asks about what action you might take. And so we would ask at this point in the next minute or so, if you could please identify as clearly and specifically as possible, those old SMART goals, one thing that you are committed to doing in your classroom to build the expectations of students over the coming year. So about 1 minute to write your own goal. And I promise you, when I go home, by tomorrow night I will have done a composite of these to be shared back to you as all the many ways that you can influence positively student expectations. So, a minute of silence for you to do your work.
Great, thank you so much for that. Also, you might have noticed some of those multicolored pipe cleaners on your tables. So we actually have pipe cleaners at almost every YATS event, but in this case, we're hoping that you can maybe like twist them around or form them in a way that'll remind you of the personal goal that you just made. Might just be something fun to come away with. We're going to close this by going really full circle and just reminding you of the goals that we set for this session. Our first goal was you will be committed to raising student expectations and will feel empowered with strategies and tools to accomplish this goal.
And also, you will ponder how to make it safe for students to take risks and make mistakes and learn.
So today, within about a mere 45 minutes, we have tried to provide you with some basics. Some things that you can bring home, but our hope is more immediate than that, that I know you have team time, and our hope is that team time, part of that is to really look at, further explore the tools, and to, as a team, to develop some strategies that will be combined as a school-wide effort, will be a powerful influence in actually elevating expectations within your school community. We are more than delighted to be a resource for you. We are going to stay for lunch and are glad to talk to anybody at that time. I'm also, my contact information is in that resource information. If you want to get to Yuka and Taylor, I can certainly be a conduit for that. So if you want that youth perspective, we're more than glad to continue to provide that for you. So we are going to end with
a motivational movie. This is one of our favorite clips. It really captures the essence of great expectations.
I feel.
Do you feel alive?
I feel happy of myself.
I feel happy of myself too. What, do you got any words of wisdom? What about for all the other kids trying to learn how to ride their bike? Can you say anything to them?
can get the hang of it, and then you can get better and better at it if you do it.
Give me some thumbs up.
Thumbs up, everybody!
All right.
For rock and roll!
So I just want to thank you, everyone here, so much for all of the work that you put in during the session. I mean, if we could have you for the entire day, I would love nothing more than that. But it's very important to us that you fill out the evaluation form on your table to provide us feedback so we can share your goals for helping your students, and so that we can also get a sense of the way positive expectations play in your life and in your schools. And if you could just leave that there as you leave, we will collect them, and as Helen said, we'll compile everything together and provide that for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.